And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking McLaren Friday. Apparently, McLaren looking very good heading into, well, the British Grand Prix weekend. We've had the practice Friday. Now we just need qualifying on the Saturday and finish it off with a 1-2 in the race on Sunday. Will it happen? Maybe. Max Verstappen did have very good race runs though. But let's get into those headlines, shall we? So we'll be talking about Zak Brown hitting out at Red Bull. I told you it's not over. It's going to continue, maybe over the weekend. We'll have to see upgrades at Silverstone. We'll be looking at that. Quite a few teams having upgrades, including Papaya, the team Papaya. FerrRi looking a bit better, but still trying to understand those upgrades. And that's a nice picture of the red arrows. And then we've got Sainz to Mercedes rumours as well. But there we go. That's all. That is all the headlines. We'll speak to you in a second. So welcome to our British Grand Prix Friday review, and what we are going to have a look at before we get into the Zak Brown stuff is the practice session. So this is going to be practice 1, where Norris ended up being a 10th faster than Lance Stroll, of all people. Piastri in 3rd, Verstappen in 4th, Russell 5th, Alonso 6th, Hamilton 7th, although to be fair, the two Mercedes looked really good on those hard tyres. I mean, they were faster, I think, than Verstappen at the time on the hard tyres. What's interesting is Verstappen didn't go on the softs, but I think obviously a lot of the people ahead of him did, and it didn't look as impressive, which means Verstappen's lap in practice 1 was really good. Alonso in 6th, and then we have Hamilton 7th, Leclerc 8th. FerrRi looking, well, we'll get into them in a second, not as good as we hoped, but there were encouraging remarks from Leclerc. 10th is Ocon, 11th is Hulkenberg, 12th is Bottas, 13th is Ricciardo, Behrman in 14th for his re-debut. He's quite a bit slower than Hulkenberg. 15th is Zhao, 16th Albon, Doohan, Jack Doohan, the son. And then again, Hadjar 19th, 18th is the Williams. Last, and very much leaked because he ended up bringing out a red flag, was Yuki Tsunoda with a really bizarre and kind of pathetic spin. Yeah, it was not good at all. So when we look at practice 2, which I think is a lot more relevant, the race times, as in the race runs, Verstappen was looking a couple of tenths quicker than Lando Norris. However, remember, the track, it has been raining at Silverstone. It's probably due to rain a bit more, but not as much as the weekend continues at the moment. Could it rain for the race? Not impossible. But the track was very green, so it's quite abrasive. And on the runs, it was very much, I think, Max Verstappen seemed to have on the race ones a bit of an edge. However, pray tell, they don't do a full race distance or really full-on proper stints and hard stints, going at maximum, as they would in the race. And the last couple of times in Spain and both Austria, McLaren seemed to be a bit better on towards the end of those long race stints. So it's looking good if you're a Red Bull fan. It's looking good if you are a McLaren fan. And Mercedes, I think, are going to be there or thereabouts if any of them mess up, just as they did in Austria. So, and speaking of Austria, we had another McLaren boss has weighed into the debate. He hits out at Red Bull for encouraging aggressive Verstappen driving. And here's an interesting. We're going to break down the interview that he did with Sky bit by bit. I won't be playing all of it all the way through. The link for the interview is in the description below. Here it is. So let me just get this right. Ted Kravitz is interviewing Zak Brown. Oh, it's not where I'm going to have to restart the recapture feed. Here we go. Okay.
Just a couple of things to pick up from Austria. Christian Horner, the Red Bull boss, said on the radio afterwards to Max Verstappen, never mind, Max, Lando didn't behave correctly.
I mean, I think before Zak Brown answers, I think the whole world seems to know, other than even the most hardcore Verstappen or Red Bull fan, that Max was arguably more in the wrong than even Lando was with the dive bombs. Yes, but those dive bombs weren't. I think one of them was particularly amateurish. But at that point, what you have to remember, and what I said, I'm not blaming Lando for it. I'm not I'm not just, well, I am justifying Lando's dive bombs in a way. Once Verstappen had clearly moved under that braking zone, that is what Lando was thinking at that point. Oh my gosh, I need, he's going to move again. So I need to surprise him. Understandably. Hence the dive bombs. So there's an argument that that Lando, the way Max Verstappen was behaving forced Lando into those dive bombs. But let's have a look again.
Afterwards to Max Verstappen, never mind Max, Lando didn't behave correctly. How did you take that?
I thought that was very incorrect. I think it's inappropriate to be feeding your driver information that I think the rest of the world saw it differently, including the stewards. I think it was the...
And that's why a lot of people have maybe not completely put the 100% blame on Max, but looked at Red Bull and the way they manage Max, and it's all kind of like they're saying anything to keep him happy. Absolutely, you should be defending your driver. I expect Christian Horner to defend his driver, but when he defends his driver, which is potentially just a blatant lie, I think that's really like over egging the pudding or really stretching. I wouldn't even say stretching of the truth. It's a lie. If what Ted says is true.
Right decision. You have to leave a driver a full car length width, I should say, and didn't, and so that's disappointing because it's not very sporting. But that's kind of what we've come to expect out of his behaviors.
So, as you said, once again, just like Andrea Stella, he's not directly referencing 2021 with Lewis Hamilton, although Lewis has come out and not really weighed too much into that debate. I think he even said he doesn't necessarily 100% agree. But yeah, so, there's Zak Brown intimating that. And as we know, Zak and Christian don't really seem to be get along. That goes all the way for cost cap gate, when Zak Brown basically accused the Red Bull team of cheating. Christian Horner said we never would intentionally cheat, but then Christian Horner was adamant that they hadn't breached the cost cap. So,
yeah, Lando was also. Max said afterwards of Lando's attacks, he can try this way, he can try that way, and Max insisted that he would move and then brake, that he had not braked and then move, of course.
Now this is quite interesting because then Zak Brown is going to come back at Ted, well not really come back at Ted, but suggest something a bit different to the facts that Max laid down.
Braking and then moving is not permitted under the driver's code and whatever part of the regulation it is. Do you have GPS information that suggests that Max did indeed brake?
It's almost like it was set up.
Afterwards?
I think we all have data that we know what every single race car is doing. I also thought what Anthony Davidson did on Sky was excellent, and he spoke with real authority. And as he mentioned, he knows that track. So we do all have data, but I think if everyone had a look at what Anthony laid out there, I thought that was
okay. Yeah, he talked about that really good thing
so
that
you would
Anthony
have preferred
Davidson
Red Bull
available on YouTube
to say, look, Max, you can't do that, or given him some guidance.
Yeah, that's what we would do.
Is that something you would have done?
We 100%.
So he's basically asking whether, as a team boss, would you do that? Would you tell Max should not to do that? And Zak Brown is saying 100% they would. And to be fair, McLaren do appear to be a bit more honest, I think, with their drivers. They have done in the past.
If we feel our drivers needing to do something to perform differently or cautious on track limits or whatever the case may be, we definitely feed you our drivers to, be careful you're doing something that, and they didn't. In fact, Lando had a 5-second penalty, which is a whole different story, because I don't think when you make a move and you go off, you give the position back, you should get a track limit for that. But he wasn't even, I think, notified of the 5-second penalty. And had he done, maybe Max would have said, well, let me just tuck in behind him and win this thing being 2 seconds behind.
And that's a criticism. I'll end it there. That's a criticism of Red Bull. That had they, I think, notified Max of this 5-second penalty, I'd imagine that once it got confirmed, but it hadn't been confirmed, it was just under investigation. It got confirmed after they hit, which is frustrating. that he may have a 5 second, would he have let him go? At the time, I don't think it would have done, because as I said, the penalty wasn't official. So I don't know why with Red Bull they wouldn't have let him go, because then had the penalty not been happened, it was just under investigation at the time of the offence, I think Red Bull would have gone, oh no, we've just given a win away. And then it looked really, really stupid. Definitely. Really, really, really silly. So we've got upgrades at Silverstone, including McLaren's upgrade. So let me just see if I can share the screen for the upgrades. Here we go. So these are the upgrades. They've revealed their upgrades for the British Grand Prix, with plenty opting to bring no changes at all. McLaren have introduced rear wing updates. That's going to be significant because you want to be low drag at Silverstone. It's a really fast circuit. And McLaren have made a substantial change to their rear wing, in which they hope to be an improvement. They haven't won at this circuit since Lewis Hamilton's 2008. Now, McLaren bring major upgrades for the British Grand Prix. There are 2 changes made to the RB20 that they hope will be their 5th victory at the circuit. They've got a floor with subtle reprofiling apparently as well, and above the lower side impact structure tube, which Red Bull say they will get more energy to the floor edge wing. That's not too bad at all. Mercedes made a total of that's their new floor, I guess. Mercedes made a total of 4 changes, with 2 concerned with wings. They made the rear wing is a reprofiled flap, apparently. The 2 changes to the corner, one to the corner, which has a smaller brake duct inlet on the front. McLaren have made 5 changes, but would only use 3 at one time. The reason is they bought a new ring and have beam wings to match. The rear wing, they're saying, has lower downforce in anticipation for just like I said, for the characteristics of the Silverstone circuit. And then the final change is the engine cover with an additional cooling exit. That might mean then, when you've got a cooling exit, you might be able to run your engine a bit higher, or it's going to improve the engine reliability. Aston Martin made 2 changes. First comes on the front wing. RB have made just 1 change with the halo. Stake F1 have made 1 change coming on the floor fences. All very good, all very exciting. So changes there. Are they going to work? Who knows? Who knows if they're going to work? But also, speaking of questions, I would very much like to know what in the blue hell is going on with Carlos? In the blue heck is going on with Carlos Sainz? He's back in a Mercedes. Mate, is he in the Mercedes frame for 2025? But before we do that, we're going to be talking about FerrRi are yet to get the best from their current package. Leclerc, as they're bringing upgrades, and he says FerrRi can extract more performance from their car, and this is despite not introducing any upgrades from Silverstone this weekend. FerrRi are the only team of the current 5 not to bring new parts for their car. However, if you remember, the big upgrade that they got in Spain was initially meant for Silverstone. Leclerc, though, insists that the team can still extract more speed of their car in its current spec. He said, we are still trying to work out where we need to set the car in order to maximise the potential of those upgrades, Leclerc told media. He said, because, as I've said many times, the performance numbers that we were expecting this from the upgrade there. The upgrade is working the way it should be, but he said it's more about where you run in the car to optimise those numbers that we see for now. We haven't quite managed to do it, so we are still looking on that. Leclerc believes FerrRi have potential solutions to be able to squeeze the best out of their updated car sooner or later. He said, I think it's very much in the optimisation of the package, so it's something that can be solved short term. He says, we already have a few ideas in the direction we want to push, as we've seen some big differences between the cars at the last race. So I definitely don't think that it's something that we cannot fix short term. And he was happier with the car in practice, which I think is absolutely good. Bang tidy. There's the red arrows. I don't know why that's basically for the thumbnail. I don't know why I did that. But there's the red arrows, everybody. Now we can talk about Carlos Sainz back in the Mercedes frame for 2025, supposedly. And this is the reason why, is it appears that Kimi Antonelli is struggling in Formula 2, but the blame has kind of been put on the Prima Formula 2 seat rather than anything else. But Kimi Antonelli's difficult start to his maiden Formula 2 campaign, that's put Carlos Sainz back in contention for a Mercedes Formula 1 drive next year alongside George of the Russell. Having entered F2 as one of the overwhelming favourites to take the title, given his impeccable junior credentials, Antonelli has struggled with the setup to the rung, obviously below F1, particularly as his Prima squad took longer than most to get dialed in for the new 2024 car. The Italian currently sits 9th in the championship standings, 20 points ahead of teammate Ollie Behrman. The Briton has recently been confirmed as a Haas driver for 2025. That's despite his poor Formula 2 form. But Mercedes is still keen to make Antonelli the step up to F1, with team principal Wolff having previously said that youth was his preferred option. So what's all going on? He said the season has been tricky for Kimi because overall in F2, the two have not been on the level. And I think the team recognises that the own team wasn't great down at Prima. But he said last weekend was pretty good. The pace was there. There were mistakes in the gateway, so that's something that Kimi needs to learn. That's clear. He has a lot of pressure. He's been talked about a lot about. He's a junior Formula and go-kart track record, which is one of a kind, and has been able to tread that as the pressure ramps up. But it's like his father says, a champion needs to perform in cold water and needs to swim. So they are very clear about that. That might save Sainz. Will it be a 2-year deal then for Sainz for 25 and 26? And then Kimi Antonelli maybe gets a 2-year stint at Williams. But Williams is a separate team. They do have the Mercedes engines. Would James Vowles want to, like they did with George Russell, big up another driver, train another driver, only for him then knowing to go to Mercedes? Unless, for example, Mercedes said, we'll give you the free engines. Might be worth it then. Certainly he's not going to be, there's the potential of him not being any worse than Logan Sargent. But there we go. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So if you made it to the end, let me know. Give us a like and subscribe. That would be really good. Why? Give us a like because it makes me happy and I love it and it makes it worth it. Why subscribe? So you don't miss out anything over the British Grand Prix weekend and going into the rest of the races. We're not too far from the summer break either, and we will be doing things in between the summer break, Formula 1 motorsport-esque, to keep you guys and me sane. 4 weeks without Formula 1. It's bad. It's bad. But we also cover the rally, and there will be touring cars to talk about as well. Also, the upcoming Festival of Speed is going. So I'm going to be trying to be watching that. It's free on YouTube as well, which is brilliant. And talking about that will be absolutely amazing. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.